Sorry, guys, taking a breath. So this episode gets really, really deep. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to That's So Akiba. I'm so happy to have you here. Today, I wanted to get on here and get a solo episode in talking about grief and talking about how to deal with that and how to navigate life after you lose someone so dear to your heart. And I know it can get really, really tricky for a lot of people. I know it did for me. And just maybe some tips and some ways of, how can you grow from that? I think that's the way that I kind of took my losses, is that every loss that I had, I kind of took from them and said, okay, what can I do to make my life better? I know that they're not here anymore. I know that it's really, really hard. I know that it's even hard to think, okay, how the am I supposed to move on when I know a person is just gone? Like, 1 minute you're holding the person dearest to your heart, whether it's a friend, a parent, a sibling, someone you even just cross paths with, and they really touched your soul. Like, how do you just go on with life knowing that they're not? For me, I think a lot of it has to do with God. I'm a big, big believer in God. For me, Hashem. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I always write BH. It's Baruch Hashem. And what that means is just thank God. Like, thank God for everything that I have, and thank God for even what I don't have. One of my favorite prayers in the world is that prayer right there. And I say it every day to say that, we want so much to have everything and to just always grasp for, okay, what else can I go for? What else can I have? What else? But to just stay grateful for what you already do have, and for what you don't have, what may come, but what you don't have. And just to make sure that you stay present with that and know that it can come for you, but you should always be grateful for what you have already. And for the people that you had in your life, for the people that you've lost. I always, I know it's hard, I know it's sad, and I know that I've been through it. I mean, I've been through it all, and all the steps that come with it, not just loss, but then, the steps that come after the loss that comes after. I talked a lot about when it rains, it pours, when you lose someone, but then you end up losing so many other things. They say it comes in threes, but for me, it came in like tens, and it was just a lot. But how you can push through it, that's such an important thing to talk about, is, you can overcome it. Life is not over. Just because it's over for someone physically, just because they're not here and you can't see or touch them or feel them, doesn't mean that they don't exist. They're totally there. One of my favorite stories after my dad passed is, me and my mom got in a lot of different arguments after my dad passed. And I think that's just part of the grieving process, is just fighting with your loved ones because you're so lost. I went in the car one day and I just remember crying to my dad, like out loud in the car, like playing obviously R&B. If you know me, you know that I love R&B, some good Lauryn Hill, Usher, all that good stuff. And just crying in the car and saying, like, why is this all happening to us? Why did I not only lose you, Dad, but why are we losing our house? Why do we have to sell our house? Why don't we have money? Why don't we have food in the fridge right now? Why do I have to get 2 jobs? Why is this happening to me? Right? Why is this happening to me? And all of a sudden, I'm in my Mini Cooper. I always drove Mini Coopers when I was younger. And the car just goes dun, 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 as if there's somebody sitting next to me and their seatbelt is on, and it says that their seatbelt's off. That little noise that comes off, and it was just like, da, 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 da. And I took that as the biggest sign. I'm like, holy shit, my dad is here. Like, he's with me. And all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was call on him. I just had to literally speak to him, like as if he was there, to just get a sign, like, why is this happening to me? But it wasn't happening to me. All this stuff was happening for me. And I can literally say this 11 years later after losing my dad, all of those hardships made me who I am today. They made me a better wardrobe stylist. They made me a better giver. They made me a better listener. They made me more wise. They made me start a podcast to talk to you guys about what this all means, you know? And that's why I say it literally happened for me, not to me. And that takes time to get there. But those little signs, I'll say, you know, if you're going through it right now, this is for you, pray. I don't care if you don't believe in anything. I don't care if you call it the universe. I don't care if you call it God. I don't care if you call him Zeus. I don't care who the hell it is. Pray. Pray to yourself. Pray to yourself. You can be your own God or goddess, whatever it is. Pray to yourself and ask. Just sit with yourself and ask. Ask whatever it is that you need in that moment. Ask yourself or ask God. For me, it's God. It's like, God, I need a sign today. I need a sign. Why is my relationship going to shit today? Why, you know, give me a sign. Should I stay in this relationship? Should I not? Should I go for this new business I want to go for or not? Should I call that family member that I'm not talking to anymore or not? Ask for a sign. And really, they come through. They come through. And I promise you, if you don't believe in God, you probably will if you say the word God before. You know, I mean, so many moments in my life, you know, I've asked for signs and they really have come through. I'm going to give you another one. Another really, really big moment was when I was in a relationship, one that I, you know, I'll say it again, like it happened for me because I learned a lot of lessons. You know, he was living in France, I was living in Miami, and it was after, you know, 2 years of battling whether I should be in it or not. And I asked God, I said, God, I don't want to get on this flight today. Literally, I left my therapist's house. She said, go in the car and just ask him what to do because you don't know what to do. You don't know. And I went in the car. I said, God, I don't want to go today. I had a flight that night to go to France to see this man that I was engaged to and unengaged. I like took off my ring. I knew he wasn't for me. And that's intuition. Always listen to that. You need to listen to yourself. It's so important. And I said, God, I don't want to go today. Like I don't feel it anymore. I know I don't want to be in this relationship. It was his 30th birthday. If I don't show up, we knew for sure it would be over. What happens? 1 second later, I get a little ting on my phone. Your flight to Paris, France has been canceled. That never happens. If you fly abroad, I mean, you know, like that's very rare. Okay, postponed or whatever, but canceled. I mean, if that wasn't God, I don't know who that was. Like it was so divinely for me to get that message that I was not meant to go there. And I'll take it a step further. I was not meant to be with that person because I asked God, is he for me? Like be very specific. Is it for you? Is it not for you? And those moments are just such gifts. They're such gifts when you ask, you know, just ask for what if you're lost, find your way by asking. The answers are definitely there for you. And that goes with anything. Those little signs that you want from a loved one that has passed on, pray on it and ask those questions and talk to them out loud. Like I talk to my dad all the time. My mom is even better at it than me. Every day when she gets stressed, she goes in front of my dad's picture every morning. This happens every morning. She goes in front of his picture and she goes, Je suis belle aujourd'hui? Like, do I look pretty today? You know, and her cute little friend, she always asks him how she looks. And like, he's so present still for her. He is so much alive for her. And, you know, I know that grief comes with a lot of things, but, you know, you tend to remember the moments that are the hardest, which is when they pass away. For me, I go back to, it's still so hard. I like still get dizzy talking about it. I get dizzy talking about the loss of my dad because it was such a hard moment. But, you know, I'm 21 years old. It's supposed to be the best years of life. You're supposed to be getting drunk and having fun and not thinking about any worries in the world. And I'm just waiting for my dad to die. And the night before he passed away, after like 3 weeks of really just going through it, you know, I was abroad in Israel. He flew me back because he knew he was sick. And a week later, we had to send him back to Israel because that's where his doctors were. I just remember my dad going outside of our beautiful home that they built, you know, like it's not that they physically built the home, but like it's everything that came inside of the home. It's all the all the holidays, all the memories, their 4 beautiful kids that they raised. It's all the animals that we had in there, like my dad bought me 2 turtles, 4 birds. Like I've had so many of those, and like he taught me that birds don't belong in cages and to let them go because they're meant to fly. And like I think that he literally stepped outside of his home and he looked back at his home and he was so sick, like he was so frail, and he just looked at his house and like he knew he wouldn't come back. Like, it's like he knew that was his last day at that house. And I remember taking him to the airport, and I would always drive with one leg up like this, and he freaking hated that. He would always scream at me to put my leg down, and like nobody drives like that. Like, it's not okay. So one hand on the wheel with one leg up, like just bumping music, and he would hate it. And he would smoke his cigarette. So I was like, if you smoke your cigarette in my passenger seat, I put my leg up. That's our deal. And he'd be like, okay, well, he preferred smoking his cigarette than having my leg up. He didn't care. But, he left that day. I dropped him off at the airport. And I remember even speed bumps would hurt him. He had lung cancer. It was a short but long fight. Literally, we found out 3 weeks later he had passed. And the night before he passed, my mom had been sleeping there for 3 weeks straight. She was literally eating like chocolate bars every single night, and I knew she just needed a break. So my brother and I decided to stay there that night and just really just give her a break, alleviate her. And my dad was just calling out for his parents, for his brothers and sisters, just calling out all their names. And he kept looking at me and my brother, and kept saying, give me the key. Kept asking us for a key. And it was just so strange. Like, we're like, Dad, what key? Like, what are you talking about? What key? He's like, I need a key. And then he would look up and he would call to his parents, and his eyes like turned like white and blue. It was so strange. It was like almost angelic, but like you knew he was just shedding, it's like you become a baby all over again. And the next day, it's like he woke up all over again. The next morning, he woke up all over again, and I gave him his food, and he ate his full plate for the first time in 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, like he's healing, like he's getting better. Like it was like a miracle. And he was talking to me, and he remembered me, and he was calling me Sarah. He kept calling me my mom's name before that because all he wanted was my mom. They were so in love. And I was just like, oh my God, like you're getting better. And I remember he drank a full thing of apple juice. And I was like, my God, like, this is it. Like, he's getting his energy back. About 15 minutes later, he fell into a coma. And I was like, screaming at the doctor, and I said, oh my God, something's happening. Like, I heard like water in his lungs, and I'm telling the doctor, like, I fed him too much. I gave him too much to drink because they said that there was water in his lungs. I'm like, he drank too much. Like, I gave him, he goes, no, like, this is the end. This is what happens. And I'm like, no, it's my fault. It's my fault. Like, I gave him too much to drink. I was bugging out, and my mom wasn't there. My brothers weren't there. It was just my one brother that he was like on the balcony. No one was answering my phone call. And I'm like, Dad's dying and I'm here all alone. Like, what am I supposed to do? And hours later, it ended up, just we had to go get some paperwork in order to bury him. Like, we knew it was the last moment. But right before that happened, he opened his eyes and he looked at me after calling me my mom's name so many times. Like, Francine. I'm like, yeah, it's me. And I just kept saying yes just to like make him worry less. And he just like opened his light blue white eyes and he looked at me, he goes, Sarah. And I'm like, yeah. And that was right before his like last moment with me. And I just remember those moments were the hardest. And then I left to go get this important paperwork. And I remember my brother calling me and saying, Sarah, like, it's happening now. We got to go. Like, you guys have to come right now. And by the time we got back, in the Jewish religion, you have to cover their body once they pass because their souls have to rise. And I remember running up those stairs. Like, I still remember those hospice stairs. And I just remember, screaming like I've never screamed before. And the man who was holding me was my dad's neighbor, who was actually also dying. This really fat Greek man. I'll never forget him. And he just caught me before I fell and just hugged me, and he just kept patting my back as if I knew him my whole life, and this man was going through the same thing, just a matter of days before. And that's what goes to show you, the people that pass your life that you tend to just kind of just brush off, and they're just so important in your life. That man was that for me. I don't even know who he was. I don't know his name. I don't know anything about him. I just remember that he would always say how lucky my dad was that he had so many people who loved him that showed up every single day. The rooms were never empty, and so many of those people's rooms were empty. So if you're going through it now, I hope you have tissues on you like I don't. But if you're going through it now, just spend those moments with those people. Ask all the questions. If I could go back, I wish I had asked more questions. But ask all the questions. Ask them everything. How would you have lived your life? What would you have done better? Or just laugh more with them. Touch them more. Notice their hands more. Notice their feet more. Because those are the moments that, I tend to have blocked out for a long time. For a long time, I just saw that white sheet over my dad's body that just put me into just a desperate shock. I remember, I used to even have trauma, looking at white curtains, because I'd be like, oh my God, that's what it reminded me of. But with time, you end up seeing the sunlight that comes through those white sheets. You end up changing your perspective, and it just takes a little bit of time. I say have grace. Cry when you need to cry. Talk about them when you can. Tell stories, share stories. In the Jewish religion, we have something called Shiva. You sit 7 days, and you commemorate those 7 days to that person that you lost. And I don't care what religion you are. I don't care whatever it is. But those 7 days were so important for us because we cried so much. We laughed so much. We were so humble because you literally have to sleep on the floor. It's like you're brought down. You can't shower. You can't put on makeup. You can't do anything. You just have to sit with yourself and your close loved ones. And people bring you food. And I say that's how you should grieve the right way, is just by remembering them and continue to tell those stories. Here I am 11 years later, almost 12 years later, and I'm getting married, and I have this amazing person in my life, and I'm building my own little family. And of course that person isn't here anymore, and he's not here anymore, but he's just not physically here, but he's totally here. I feel him every day with everything that I've built, with Angel watching over me, with every business that I have, every contract that my father made me sign. He's just still so present. And I say that with your loved ones, take them with you everywhere. And even if you have bad memories of them, that's okay. Try to change that perspective of them. Try to change it, because it didn't happen to you. They happened for you. So thank you again for listening in. I know this one was a crier, but I think it's these special episodes that will just bring us closer together and make sure that we don't forget the important things in life. Don't live in the fluff. Remember that we're only here for a short period of time, and just make that time count. Make it count. So thank you. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for listening to That's So Akiba. Subscribe today on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever you choose to listen or watch. I'll see you soon.